O Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood. For the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood. For the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood. For the sake of all wandering beings, may all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Bhadra Samaja, Bhadra Samaja, Vajra Samhaja, protectors of all sentient beings without exceptions, deities who vanquish the ruthless hordes of Maras, knowers of everything as it is, Bhagavans and your retinues, please come here. Argyam Padyam Pushpe Dhupe Aloke Gende Nevede Shabda Pratishaso. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land, and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure realm, whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete bodhi. Now to the general laying aside text. Recollecting the four powers, bringing to mind the four powers, utilizing the four powers to clear, to lay aside all afflictive emotions, all patterns, negative patterns of behavior, power of regret, the power of the remedy, the power of reliance, and the power of resolve. The ultimate laying aside is that there is nothing to lay aside, there is no one doing the laying aside. It is seeing the nature of emptiness and the nature of appearances arising as the dependent arising of cause and effect. That is the ultimate laying aside. Then the relative laying aside, we rely on, we utilize the four powers. But even the relative laying aside becomes more effective if we have some idea about the ultimate laying aside, the emptiness nature. Elsewhere, Gilbert Rinpoche was asked, is it better to do the laying aside by manifesting as idam or not? Often when we do the laying aside, especially when we visualize Vajrasattva and the elixir flowing into us, often it is said that you remain in your ordinary form. But in one of the questions and answers, in a collection of questions and answers, as a disciple asked Gilbert Rinpoche, is it better to do the laying aside while thinking of oneself as an ordinary being, or while thinking of oneself, training with oneself, taking the appearance, the form, the identity of idam? There, Gilbert Rinpoche says, actually better to do it as a idam. And then someone raises a question, as a idam that is already pure, what is there to purify? And then he says, well, as a idam already, what is there to invite to dissolve into what? Which is one of the steps of idam practice. So he says, in idam practice, you still make offerings, you still, have the samaya being, and then you call the wisdom being, and he say, what is there to dissolve in what? And so his bigger point is, it's good to maintain the pride, the conviction of oneself as idam, even as we are doing the clearing, the purification. He says there's no contradiction to that. The bigger point being made is it's always good, as much as we can, to manifest the appearance of idam. As the mind becomes idam, then the appearance also becomes idam. And as a idam, many beings can see that appearance, even if many other beings cannot see that appearance necessarily. But it is possible for other beings to see, and those beings who can see your appearance as idam, and they are benefited from that appearance. So you can also think like that. Last great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who reside in the 10 directions and 3 times. I, who am called Kunju Yishidurji, supplicate you, turn your awakened attention to me. From beginningless samsaric time until this very moment, under the power of the afflictive emotions, attachment, aggression, confusion, pride, and jealousy, I have committed the 10 non-virtuous actions. Through the gates of my body, speech, and mind, I have committed the 5 heinous crimes, and the 5 secondary heinous crimes. I have transgressed the individual liberation vows, transgressed the precepts of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samayas of the great vehicle secret mantra. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards the 3 jewels. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my gurus and teachers. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my father and mother. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my companions in the pure spiritual life. I have abandoned the sublime dharma and disparaged the noble sangha. In short, I now lay aside all faults and transgressions whatsoever that have become obstacles to the higher realms and to liberation, and that have become the cause for samsara and the lower realms. Before you, the great Guru, Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 times, I expose the faults, I confess them, I am contrite, I regret them. I will not conceal them, I will not hide them. Henceforth, I will restrain myself and abstain from them. If I do not expose and lay them aside, they will not be transformed. Therefore, by revealing and laying them aside, may they be cleared away. May I be purified. Namo to the mandala of you, victorious Idam deities. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Vajra exalted body. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Padma exalted speech. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the perfect exalted mind. I expose and lay aside the broken root and branch samayas. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed knowingly. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed unknowingly. The 3 non-virtues of the body, the 4 non-virtues of speech, the 3 non-virtues of the mind. I confess each of the 10 non-virtues individually, with faultless disciplined conduct, possessing completely pure disciplined conduct, and through the disciplined conduct that is free from arrogance, may the paramita of disciplined conduct be perfected to glorious Vajrasattva. I pay homage. Om Sattva Samaya. Remember Sarvasiddhi me prayaja savagama sujame Vajrasato denambadino Vajrasato Vajrasato Samayamana Vajrasato Vajrasato Samayamana Vajrasato Samayamana Vajrasato Samayamana Dedome Vajrasato Oh, Anuradame was it Bajarasato de Nomadida de Domemo was a dogam was a boy. Anuradame was over the Dedome was a dogam was a boy. Santo Umbajarasato Samayamanubala Bazo de Nobadida de Nom. Umbajarasato Mazarasato Samayamanubala. Umbajarasato Samayamanubala Bazo de Nobadida. Mazarasato Samayamanubala. Umbajarasato Samayamanubala Umbajarasato Samayamanubala Bazo de Nobadida. Samaya Santo. Then now turn to Nirnipa's text, our main manual. So the first of the fivefold bodhicitta. Remember the three crucial elements in generating bodhicitta. First, we have to cultivate extensive, unbiased, loving kindness. With loving kindness stable, clear, having the ability to almost summon, you could say, loving kindness at will. Then when we encounter suffering and compassion, pure, authentic compassion can easily arise as a response. This kind of compassion doesn't have anything. Then it doesn't even have the slightest problem of what people call compassion fatigue. Actually, from a Dharma perspective, compassion fatigue is the result of cultivating what, in fact, Mahamudra would call reckless compassion. Mahamudra talks about this reckless compassion, immature compassion, which is emotionality. We are just feeding this emotion of wanting to feel sad, wanting to feel pity, and then overwhelmed by all the sadness, overwhelmed by all the negativities that is around, and then making what he calls reckless aspirations. And this is a very strong problem, especially for some of us these days, where we feel that so many things are so wrong on so many levels at so many places. And we're all exposed to all the wrong things that are happening at everywhere. And so then it's easy to give rise to reckless compassion. So Mahamudra said that he did that, and as a result, a lot of problems arose for him. And so then he taught us not to do that. Then elsewhere, Gilbert Rinpoche taught us how of the four immeasurable minds, the four immeasurables being one of the conditions for giving rise to bodhicitta. And so generally we say it's on the basis of loving kindness and compassion, and then we generate aspiration and action bodhicitta. So together these are the three elements. Elsewhere in Atisha's instructions on how to cause the bodhicitta vow to arise in us, then he talks about the four conditions that are necessary. And the four conditions that are necessary is the condition of accumulating merit, the condition of training in the four immeasurable minds, the condition of taking refuge in a special way, and the condition of perceiving the Lama giving those vows as a perfect and complete Buddha. And so these are more detailed ways of giving and receiving the Bodhisattva vow, the Bodhicitta generation, generating that mind. But generally we say three elements. So we need to cultivate loving kindness, which then leads to a more faultless form of compassion to arise. And on the basis of that, meaningfully, strongly making a commitment to achieve Buddhahood for the sake of others, making a commitment to doing whatever it takes for that to be realized. So aspiration and action, bodhicitta. Then this Bodhi mind that says, I want to achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, takes on the appearance of a idam. In this case, we're working with idam, Jakasamvara, Lord and Lady. As I said before, if you don't know how to practice idam, then you may feel, oh, actually my idam is not Jakasamvara. Maybe I should meditate myself as Tara, or maybe I should meditate myself as Yamantaka, or maybe I should meditate myself as Nairatmya. This is, if you think like this, if you feel like this, that means you don't understand the principle, the important principles of idam practice. If you know how to practice idam, then it doesn't matter which idam it is. You just go according to the manual and know that Jagasamvara is in essence, let's say your idam is Avalokiteshvara, and then you know Jagasamvara is in essence how Avalokiteshvara manifests in this instance. So here, take on the identity, the appearance of idam Jagasamvara, Lord and Lady. In terms of idam practice, we talked about the 5 awakenings as the stages leading that gives rise to the deity. Then there's also the instantaneous arising. So whether it's the 5 awakenings type of arising as idam or the instantaneous arising of idam, the 3 elements in idam is keep on clarifying the visualization of yourself in this form. Then stabilize conviction that you are the idam deity. Then also to remember, to recollect the meaning of the form of the idam, the qualities that the form, the aspects of the forms are pointing to. Then in the space in front or above your head appears the Guru. Guru's form is in the form of Buddha Vajradhara. And look to the Guru and request the 4 empowerments from the Guru. Vase empowerment clears and purifies all obscurations of ordinary body. Speech, the speech secret empowerment, which is taken at the throat level, with the red lights of the Guru Vajradhara dissolving there. And we receive secret empowerment, clearing all obscurations of speech. Wisdom, knowledge, and empowerment we receive from the Guru through the heart center with blue light dissolving. And the fourth empowerment, the precious word empowerment we receive from the Guru through the navel center. Golden light colors emanating from the Guru and dissolving into us. Take these four empowerments from the Guru. Then on page 47 of our text, it says, properly assume the physical posture with the 7 points of Vairochana, which we are already seated this way. Then, as instructed, take refuge and generate bodhicitta. Visualize your body as the idam. Cultivate the Guru. Take empowerments from the Guru. Make offerings and pray to the Guru. Then at your heart center, single-mindedly and without distraction, focus on a blue bindu the size of a mustard seed, endowed with light, and cultivate that. And build that mental image of a blue bindu in the center of your heart. Cultivate that. So we stabilize and steady our minds by cultivating this blue bindu in the center of our hearts. Let the mind be comfortable and familiar with this blue bindu. See this bindu as the gateway to all knowledge, gateway to all wisdom, gateway to all compassion. Again and again, return to the Bindu, sometimes to your form as the Idam, but mainly go back again and again to the Bindu in the center of the heart. Let your thoughts, let your mind coalesce around this blue Bindu. According to Gampopa Dapo Rinpoche, he says that if we follow the system of the paramitas, the sutra system purely, then first the outer object of grasping is investigated, meaning whatever object it is on the outside. Outside doesn't need to only be like a physical object outside. Outside means like whatever that is separate from subject. So a thought, if you relate to this thought as, I am thinking this thought, then it's outside this thought. So anyway, according to the system of the paramitas, first the outer object of grasping is investigated. For example, he says, fire, you look at fire and then you investigate and you say, oh, fire arises from the rubbing stick and the rubbing base. So like there's the traditional way of building a fire. You have a base, you have a stick, and you rub those two together and then a spark, and the effort of the person's hands. So from there, you kind of see that interdependently, the spark arises, and then there's kindling, and there's proper thing to burn, and then fire appear. So having measured and analyzed it with the knowledge of neither one nor many, and so on, and having ascertained that if the outer object of perception is investigated, then the inner perceiving mind will loosen up on its own. And so according to this paramita system, you investigate what the mind is engaging in order to loosen the rigidity of the mind. And the mind realizes, actually, what I'm fixating on, what I'm grasping, is something that has arisen interdependently. So he said, this is the paramita system. Then according to the system of Mahamudra, if the inner perceiving mind is investigated instead, so if you turn around and investigate the mind rather than what the mind engages, then the fetters, the chains of the outer object of perception will go loose on their own. And so it's the other approach. Instead of investigating the status of things, you investigate the perceiver of the things, which is mind. And regarding this subjective mind, Dapo Rinpoche Gampopa points out that you can discern three aspects to it, what he calls characteristics, essence, and nature. If you summarize this further, you can say, so these characteristics, they have the appearance of the diverse outer objects and the arising of diverse inner conceptualities regarding those outer objects. And so if you look at the character from the perspective of characteristics, you can see that mind has these two aspects where there is the appearance, all the various appearances of the outer objects, and how the mind reacts to all these perceived outer objects. So that's the characteristics. And then the essence of mind is the nature of mind. The nature of mind is different from the characteristics of the mind. The characteristics of the mind are, you can say, the natural energy of this essence of mind. And we need to recognize that. So these characteristics, they are such concepts as thick, thin, white, red, and various clouds. just like the various clouds that arise in the sky. Remember the analogy of the sky, the conceptualities that arise. So just as diverse conceptualities arise in the sky like clouds and then dissolve back into it, and just as form, sound, smell, taste, and tactile objects dissolve into the senses, though diverse objects appear, they arise from mind. Such appearances are also those characteristics of the mind. But the essence of the mind is your own knowing awareness, which we mistakenly call I or me. The knowing aspect of the mind is often what we, on that basis, we give rise to me, I. But that nature, its essence, is clear, empty, and is non-conceptuality. Yesterday we talked a little bit about non-conceptuality, how it's different from being separated from conceptualities. So briefly, these are the ways that the early Gyu tradition talks about the mind and what the mind perceives and what is the relationship between them. Again, don't think too much about it. Just be familiar with some of these words, some of these ideas. The mind in terms of the three aspects of characteristics, nature, and essence. In the end, it's very hard to draw very clear lines between, oh, these are characteristics, oh, this is essence, oh, this is nature. Especially essence and nature. Essence and nature sometimes is collapsed into just essence or just nature. So fundamentally, I think elsewhere, Dapo Rinpoche gives the example of the sun and sun rays, sandalwood and the scent of sandalwood, fire and the warmth of fire. That is the relationship between mind itself, or essence of mind, or nature of mind, and the mental activity that is going on, or heart and the activities of the heart. And that is the relationship between subject and object. Understanding that, realizing that. But mainly now we stabilize mind by cultivating the blue bindu. So if it helps, for some of us, we may have, need to draw or even look at, a round blue object. So some of you may have a sapphire, precious gem laying around, now is the time to bring your sapphire out and look at that and go, oh, that's the bindu, that's the bindu. Lacking that, you just, go draw a blue dot or a blue marble or something like that. and use that as the anchor for stabilizing your mind. Okay, now dedication on page 78. By the virtues collected in the three times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtues, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Changchu Sem Cho Rinpoche. ma ge ba na ge gyu je ge ba nyam ba me ba gong ne gong du bell one shu. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rinpoche. Bye
Weekend
bye.
Thank you.
Monday. We
Thank you, Dr.
we
Lai.
see you.